It's gonna be a fun show. It's gonna be fun.
We are live right now,
Oh
so
yeah.
I just say that I really love you guys. I really love you guys. You don't have to make me feel bad about it, but that's fine. Ready, guys? We ready?
Ready.
Let's do it.
Let's go. Well, we're back together again.
I want my introduction the way Tasha does.
You have to do something with your hair then. You got to do.
Yes.
Oh, everybody, how you doing? How was your weekend? Let's talk about the weekend. How was your weekend?
It's still the weekend, not bad.
Yeah. Not bad. Well,
You know what? Hey.
I'm with you. How has it been thus far? I'm with you.
Thank you, Marlena, for fixing that for me. I mean, okay, here we go. Well, everybody, what's new?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Finally, on the Middle Eastern seaboard, the clouds have lifted, and we saw the sun this weekend after 2 weeks of just, I remember when I woke up and saw that azure blue canopy of sky. I started singing that song, uncloudy day, that. And I was just so grateful for an uncloudy day.
That's tally for you, but it's true. It's been, but here's the real thing. We had it's just scorched our grass. I mean, it was just terrible. So, I mean, I thank God for the rain. I mean, you can't even see the spots that was out there. But we happened to come in from Hurricane Helena out in the out in Tampa area, and it's so funny how it's just calm after the storm.
Yeah, after the storm. Yeah.
Goodness, it like nothing happened where we were. And the thing that surprised me the most, you guys, this is crazy. The captain of the ship took us further out to take us away from the storm. Tell you gotta hear this, man. And there were people on the boat complaining. Like, why can't you go ahead and take us to Mexico? Like we wanted to go to Mexico. And he's like, I'm trying to save you guys' lives.
That's right. Forget that. We want to see Mexico before we die, right?
That's
right. It's so metaphorical. It's so metaphorical.
You're paid. So in the Navy, what they do is when the hurricanes come and hit, the tidewater area, all of the ships, they go out to sea.
You got to anchor deep.
Past the storm.
Man, and that's a word right there.
Damages the ship. Yeah.
That's a word right there. Can you imagine that? Yeah. And we were talking to some of those who work on it, and they said, hey, sometimes they keep them out there 3 and 4 days.
Wow.
In order to keep us safe. And I had a good time out there. Anybody can tell me about what about the debate?
Oh, it's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, move the needle.
But it wasn't really designed to move the needle. It was designed to confirm voting. In other words, people were watching so that they could say, "Yep, that's what I thought," and I'm going to vote for what I thought. There are very few people who are undecided in this election, but people still need to be confirmed, because what will happen is people say, "Yeah, I like this guy, I like that guy, I like this woman," but then they won't vote. But these debates are designed to get you to become committed to what you are already persuaded towards.
Sure.
Yeah, I can see that. So I tuned in just a little bit. First impression, they were overly nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't know. It might have been a little bit manufactured, but it did feel light.
Yeah.
And to some degree, I wish more of our politicians could take on that position versus the hard stance that we often take. But I also saw kind of what Tally was speaking about. There were moments where I'm like, okay, it sounds like we can find a solution in this debate.
Yeah.
But then someone would veer to their sides, you know, whatever that phrase is, that kind of virtue signals to their side. That I'm still this guy. But you kind of saw them kind of, yeah, I can see your point.
Yeah.
Which, if you're trying to problem solve and you put the minds together in a room, yeah, we might have different degrees of thought here, but we're going to figure out the middle and get there.
Sure.
So it was an interesting observation. What happens after that, we shall see. But I think it was necessary for this political climate that we're in to see politicians on opposite sides have actual discourse.
Okay, Upsetters, really quick. What do you think about the New Jersey conference pastor that left because of his thought? The New Jersey conference pastor who resigned. Let me just say it right now. He's the one that resigned because he says the seal of God is not the Sabbath. Tally, you be quiet, please. Everybody else.
Time out. Wait, I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. So he said, "Hey, conference, I'm resigning because the seal of God is not the Sabbath, and I'm out." That was it.
In the magazine, come on, what's our magazine? Not ours. No. Spectrum magazine. Spectrum magazine. It was more to that. The video I have not seen.
It was a podcast episode.
Right, the podcast episode I did not see. Where he said that you can worship on any day, but he's right. You can worship on any day.
No, you should worship every day.
That's exactly.
Mercy, did I say that?
I think there's a lot of technical terms to it. It is blowing up. It's on fire right now, going all over the place. But it makes it seem as though the conference fired him. The conference didn't fire him. He resigned from there, and it's starting the whole snowball effect that's happening. I just want to know what your thoughts were.
It sounds to me like the issue isn't whether they fired him or he quit. The issue is that he made a point, which is that the seal of God is not Sabbath keeping. Is he correct in that, or is he not correct in that?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I said on Jesse Wilson that he put out. I said I will risk being fired by saying that I believe the seal of God is obedience. Period.
What? Really?
Holy Spirit.
Well, this will be my last day.
That's too vague.
It's too vague.
I think Bishop Marlena has the point on this one. Could you repeat that,
Marlena? Yeah, it's the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, it's.
And I just want to say about this worship, and I know that's not your point, but
no, go ahead.
I mean, after this, depending on how I'm feeling, we're gonna have family worship. So I worship God every day. I don't know if
that's too light. That's too light, Keenan.
That's too light. Okay,
man.
I'm sorry.
That's really light, man.
I'm sorry.
But you know what? And not to make it a joke, I do think that the church, their church, we are starting to think now, and we are allowed to think. And I think that sometimes, and I'm not talking about the conference, and when I say this, I'm not talking about New Jersey conference. But I'm saying we should be allowed to think. When we were growing up, we weren't allowed to think. It was whatever they said is what we're going to go ahead and do. And I think that's what you see. You're starting to see this happen now. You're starting to hear people say, this is what I took out of it, or this is what I'm taking out of it. And there are a lot of people being penalized for that.
Now, I think I'm the only one here. I'm sure y'all been in the church longer than myself. But when I came into the church, my thing was just hearing that not thinking. My thing was challenge everything.
Oh, that's good.
Challenge every single thing. Because I did not want the church to be right. Right. I wanted to. So I studied stuff to prove the Adventist church wrong. And it took me, I went to a prophecy seminar. It took me another 2 years to join a church. Because I was I just had to make sure, just to study. So when I hear this, you're taught not to think. Of course, that's not my experience, and I'm sensitive to that. But I'm like, you gotta think. You can't just. And again, I'm from New York, so I'm a skeptic by nature. So don't trust anybody by nature. So,
and I do understand that, Keenan. The other side of it is, I'm coming, Migs. The other side of it is that when you grow up in this thing, it's all you hear. There's, I get your point saying, hey, I'm coming in, I'm a skeptic by nature, I want to know everything I go across the board. When we could not do that. If we did that, that would be something like going against your birthright or something of that nature. So I got your stance on it, and I really appreciate your piece on it, because I think yeah, go ahead, Marlene. I'm sorry.
Help me, Pat, and help me, Keenan. What do you mean that we're taught not to think?
Oh, I didn't say that. That was Pat.
I said that.
Oh, yeah. What do you mean?
I better yet, I'm gonna say it this way. Not that we're taught not to think, but it's everything. I grew up in a dogmatic Adventist lifestyle where some of the things are just one way to do it. There's no other way to do it. And when you grow up that way, you teach your children the same thing, and their children teach them the same thing. When half of the stuff that we do is not even biblical.
Yeah. So you're speaking of the different cultures, the culture in which you were raised taught you that way. Because I didn't learn that. Right?
Well, it's not that it's didactically put forward. It's that there's an atmosphere that's, for example, statements like, in the last days, people will be questioning the doctrine, and you got to learn, you got to be sure about it and stand fast on these truths that have been tested and proven. And that tells you not to question certain things subliminally. That's. I mean, nobody's says, "Hey, folks, welcome to Ephesus Seventh-day Adventist Church, where we don't think."
Right.
It's subtle.
Right. It's subtle.
And Keenan, like Keenan said, he's it's not that he hates you; he's just skeptic by nature.
Can I ask a question?
Hold on. Don't let him get away with that, GP, real quick. I heard you, Tally. I heard you. You're not going to get away with that.
I live and die for hip-hop.
But he is naughty by nature. He's naughty by nature. We'll go with that. Come on, GP. Go with yours. We got a couple more minutes.
When you talk about thinking, for scholars, they have room to think and push the envelope. Yeah. Is there room for pastors to think publicly, whether it's a podcast, behind the pulpit, or is it a pastor's job to regurgitate exactly what the denomination believes to continue to receive their paycheck?
Mercy.
Well, you know the answer to that, GP. The answer is...
Go ahead. Coming, Keenan. We coming.
Of course not. Of course, it is not our job to regurgitate. But the actual answer is, if you make the brethren uncomfortable, you will be called on the carpet.
You sure will. You sure will. Because I don't see anything that he has said that some of us have not said. I love Revelation Seminar, and our Revelation Seminar for me is something that we used to do. We just used to do it in our church, but there's so many different things in the Revelation Seminar that I have to change myself, and I have no problems. I'm coming, Keenan. There's no problems for me to change it myself. But like again, the seal of God being the Sabbath. There's a lot of Sabbath keepers going to hell. So we have to be careful of even making a statement like that. I do believe it's the Holy Spirit, Marlena, as we have said, it's the Spirit. But I do believe that the Holy Spirit gives us the opportunity to be, or we make the choice to be obedient, and Sabbath falls under that. I don't believe that every day is the Sabbath. Let's just get that straight.
Explain what you're saying, Pat. You're saying obedience to the law of God is what the church is sealed on. Is that what you're saying?
Just obedience.
Fourth commandment is a part of that. You just talking about total obedience to God.
Yeah, just obedience. And the reason why I don't want to break it down into segments of obedience to what is because that's what we do. And I think that the gospel of Jesus Christ is once you have accepted Jesus as your personal savior, you make a choice to be obedient to those things. And if we take out, if we take out one thing and say we're obedient to that one thing, then we become beholding to that one thing alone. And I just believe that you just be obedient. The Sabbath falls under that.
Well, we might not want to get too far off onto this one because it's like a topic we need to have. We don't
really care, Tally, because you're leading today.
Can I just?
And I know, come on, Keenan, real quick. Come on.
No, I was just going to say, when GP asked the question, he put the question out there, are you open, to think, but publicly or something like that? And of course, one of the things I would say is, this is not everybody, but I just question, there's a lot of pastors, and I shouldn't say a lot, a few that I have spoken to, they have they didn't see things eye to eye with what the quote unquote the church did.
Sure.
Right. Some major issues. And I wonder, why would you be a pastor in the Adventist church? Like, why even go down that path?
That's
if you knew you had this disagreement, well, what are you doing?
It's historical. I mean, there are some apostles who thought that you had to be circumcised. Others who thought that you didn't. Right. There were some who thought you could eat things off the idols. Some thought that you couldn't. It's a historical reality that intelligent people tend to disagree at times.
Yeah.
No, I'm fine with that. But I'm saying if the church says this, then you do something else.
Then Keenan, just leave, you mean? Leave and just do what you gotta do?
I mean, what are you? I'm just saying, is that like so hard? Like, is that a
Well, Keenan, I would say, I mean, even if you don't agree with everything, you agree with the foundation of Jesus Christ and his and his what he did, his sacrifice, and you might understand the Sabbath and that God has called you to, worship on Sabbath because of what he stated in his commandments. So, I mean, even if you don't agree with everything with the church, you're still called by God to preach. And so they're foundational principles that you believe. I mean, there's some cultural things that, we add. When I say we, various people add and make it seem as if it's doctrinal and salvific when it's not. And I don't agree with that. I just preach straight the word of God. But it doesn't mean that I'm a heretic or that I should leave the church and
that's not what I'm saying. If you agreed to be employed, if you have some issues, that's all I'm saying. I just wonder why you even went down this path. That's all I'm saying. But if you're an employee already and you have issues, that's another topic. Definitely, I believe you should share. You should speak what's on your heart. So
listen,
we're trying to move on. No.
I have a funny feeling that Rita Dixon.
Pat, I just gotta say this text.
Go ahead. Come on.
Acts chapter 5, verse 32.
Oh, he's preaching now. Where's the music?
No. And we are his witnesses of these things, and so is also the Holy Ghost, whom God has given to them that obey him. So I'm just in agreement for what you said. The Holy Spirit is given to those that obey. Shut up, Alejandro. No, I'm just
listen, it looks like Rita is taking us where we need to be, and I'm almost sure. Marlena, where's our producer? Where's our producer?
Yes, I think Pastor Grissom was saying something was different, and that is our beautiful host, Sister Latasha Hewitt. She is evangelizing over in Ghana, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, and with a team of people she's assisting doing communication work. But we want to just throw a shout out to her. We miss her, and we appreciate all that she does. And man, it was so fun seeing Pat trying to be Tosh today. And I tell you, this has to go down in the records. We got to make we
and y'all are so wrong. And y'all treated me bad in the green room. Y'all really treated me bad in the green room. But listen, let's go to it really quick, right? We got Daphne that's still with us. Hey, Daphne, we're saying what's up to Daphne and Mary Wright, that's DuPont Park, everybody. I don't know this guy. He's over there in Northeastern. Now, you think he'll come over or what, guys? I'm not sure.
If he's wise, he would.
Carmen Davis, good evening. He says she's in the sunshine in Washington, D.C.
Right.
Wileen Davis is saying hello to the UpSet family. Ephesus, Keith Goodman. Keith Goodman, yep, it's over there. Kimberly, I think she's out in Atlanta, Georgia. That's with us. Good to see Doc Williams with us. And we can go on and on. I don't know where this guy is. This guy, Nick. I'm
W. Nick, who is that?
I'm not even sure who he is. But we're just grateful that he's out the ministry now. So this way we don't have to deal with it. What we're talking about group think. We had a great conversation to begin with. But Tally, I'll tell you what's happened with me. I know that I was supposed to lead out today, and the real truth is that as we go through Pastor's Appreciation, I do feel appreciated in the office. I just didn't have the goal like I would have, because I've been out of the pastorate for a while now, and even before that, Pastor's Appreciation wasn't where it is right now. Well, so Tally, what I'd like for you to do in a quick hour of flipping it over, if you take it from me right now, and let's just have a robust conversation. Everybody, please, in the chat room, I'm going to ask everybody to do me one favor: share this twice. You could erase it later on, but share this twice. Because I think Tally, who does not get a paycheck from the conference, is going to be saying some things that is going to be worth.
I'm scared. I'm scared.
You scared? It's going to be worth getting around. So Tally, are you ready? Are you ready to share with us?
I am absolutely ready and looking forward to it, actually. Okay.
Let's go.
Well, everybody, we welcome you all back. Good to see my friend and my mentor, Keith Goodman, with us today. And as we all know, this is the month of October, and the month of October is more than just Halloween. The month of October is also the time that we set aside for Pastors Appreciation Month, for the men and the women who bring to us the Word of God and who serve as under shepherds to the people of God. This is a month set aside for appreciation. Yep. But the question becomes, what do we mean by appreciation? How does it work? What does it look like? Is it simply saying, our pastor, we thank you and we want to give you this plaque and this vegetarian chicken leg? I mean, is it collecting money? I mean, I know a lot of pastors who measure the love that their congregation has to them by the amount of money that they get. What are we talking about when we talk about pastors' appreciation? Well, and I'm not going to be really long. I want us to just take a real quick examination and try to learn a few things today. And that is, first of all, the word appreciation comes from a Latin compound word. The first part, the prefix ad, which means to, like ad nauseum, and into, or to nauseum, or to sickness. And then the other word, the word that really is the effective word for appreciation, is the word pretium, which is price. And so the word appreciation means to price. Better still, the Century Dictionary says it's to set a price upon something, to establish the value of something. It implies that someone will use wise judgment and delicate perception in being able to assign the value of something.
Okay.
So it's talking about wisdom and assigning value to something. And better still, if we really wanted to define what pastor's appreciation means, it means that a congregation or a person would do something demonstrative to affirm the value that they esteem someone's performance or being to have, in accordance with the perception of their mission and purpose. In other words, it's not simply I'm giving you something that I like so I can feel good about doing it. It's I am establishing or demonstrating that you have value in this area. And I know what it is that you are doing. And I know what your mission is. And I am appreciating, or I am showing that I support and value you because of what you do. There are two words that I want everybody to take note of there. Demonstratively. In other words, you have to demonstrate that you are having or perceiving value. And then the other word that I want you to take, or words rather, mission and purpose. You're demonstrating value about someone's mission and purpose. Now, before we go any further, there's some people who say, well, you're working for the Lord and it ought to be enough. The Lord will reward you in due season. Well, let me tell you, it is biblical that churches do this. This is not something that is a matter of feel good. This is a divinely ordained, scripturally supported practice. Wow. The Apostle Paul says in 1 Thessalonians 5:12, we request of you, brethren, that you appreciate those who diligently labor among you and have charge over you in the Lord and give you instruction. That's 1 Thessalonians. I'm reading from the New American Standard Bible and the Berean Learning Bible there. And then another passage of scripture, same writer, the Apostle Paul says, for they refreshed my spirit and yours as well. Show your appreciation, therefore, to such men. Beautiful. That's from the Berean Study Bible as well. But both of those times that the word appreciation is used, and now we're going a little further. We talked about the Latin root that gives us the English word appreciation. I want you to take a look at the words that are used by the Apostle Paul when he talks about appreciation. In the first passage, he used the word anagnosko. In the second one, he used a similar word, but not the same one. It was epignoskete.
Uh-huh.
I know all of you Greek scholars are following there. If you look carefully, my Greek scholars who are joining me in the room, you see a root word in both of those words. Anybody see that word?
Gnosko.
Gnosko. That's it. That's right.
Yeah.
Now, there are two words in the New Testament that are used for knowing. The one word, the first word, is oeda. It means to understand by the gathering of facts and information, to be able to see things based upon your examining them. It has more to do with the intellect and more to do with instinct, perhaps. But that's a word used for knowing in the New Testament. But the word that Paul uses as the root for the word appreciation is gnosko. And that word is a relational term. And it speaks not only of simply knowing something by facts and information, but it's about experiential, relational knowledge of something. It is the same word used when it speaks about a husband knowing or having relations with his wife, or the wife having relationships with her husband. And Adam knew his wife. It's the same word that is used by Jesus when he says that there's certain people who will not be admitted into the kingdom because he says, I never knew you. Now, he knows facts about you because he said that you didn't feed me when I was hungry, you didn't clothe me when I was naked. He knows stuff about you.
Reverend.
But information is not enough. He says we didn't have an intimate connection and relationship. The word gnosko at the root of appreciation means that in order to show appreciation, you have to know and understand what a person's mission and purpose is.
Mercy.
You can't, it's not simply, I like you, but I know what you are doing. I know what you are about. I know what the meaning of your calling is. That's what it means to appreciate somebody. Now, here we go, folks. It begins with knowing relationally and experientially. In other words, if you really want to show appreciation to your pastor, you've got to understand the role, function, and purpose of what he is doing as a pastor. It's not simply, I like you, or I like the way you preach, you make me shout. No, I know what your mission and purpose is. But not only is it about appreciating, it's saying, because I know what you're about, I'm going to demonstrate the value and the esteem that I have for the things that you're doing by acting supportively towards the person performing them. Now, I'm not sure if a plaque does that. I'm not even sure if money always does that. Let me just ask a question for those, and I'm closing now, for those who wish to appreciate the pastor. What do you really know about what it means to pastor, to be a preacher? Let's take a look at a few things. Well, the first thing, of course, is central to it is you are a preacher, you are a proclaimer, you speak the gospel, you are an evangel. So we know that that's something that pastors do. And for some people, we figure that's all that they do. I've had people say to me many, many times, what do you do all week, pastor? Because all you do is you preach for about, 40 minutes on Sabbath. So what you do the rest of your week? Because they think that's all you do. You just preach. Most people don't know that it takes anywhere from 12 to 20 hours to prepare a sermon. And that's after the life experience that you have amassed to provide the foundation for what you're about to preach. But there's also the studying and the preparing. The time spent in gathering the raw kindling to allow you to set the pulpit aflame on Sabbath. And then, of course, after you get past that part, there's the compassionate visitation that pastors must do at hospitals, at homes, in prisons, in courtrooms. And then when all of that is said and done, pastors have to be equipped to provide spiritual counseling. And I'm careful to acknowledge with my good friend Keenan in the room that is not therapy. It is spiritual dialogue that allows a person to come to grips with where their life is based upon what they are thinking. And then there is the business acumen that a pastor must bring to running a multi-million-dollar operation. A church is over $1 million, $1 million asset. And then there is the income that comes in. And then there is overseeing the operations and the functions of ministry. And then, of course, after you do those things, there's a community in which you must be involved. When I was the pastor of the West Philadelphia Church, I was a member of 9 separate boards and committees in the community. 9. That was too much. But when you are really doing your job as a pastor, the community will call upon you. And if the community is not calling upon you, and worse yet, if the community doesn't know you're there. And then, of course, there is administration. You've got to meet with the boards of your church. You've got to meet with the groups of people who came up with a great idea. Pastor, we was praying the other day and the Holy Ghost revealed to us that we ought to go and bring dead fish into the pulpit. I mean, and they really think that they've been led to do that. Now you have to administer and tell them why that might not be a good idea. You got to get different groups to work together. Administration takes a lot of work as a pastor. And then there is simply providing the presence of being the pastor. I'm going to court, Pastor. I sure would appreciate it if you would show up there. You know, or Pastor, they're honoring me at my job. Could you come? I mean, there are times when people just want the pastor there because they want the pastor there. This is just the beginning of what pastors do. Let me ask you a question for those who say, well, we show appreciation to our pastor. How have you assisted your pastor in his task of preaching or studying and preparing? The fact that he has to go around and visit. Not one member has ever asked me, Pastor, who pays for the parking when you go to the hospital? In a big city, you are paying for parking.
That's right.
You know, I mean, think about what's being done to assist the person, the man or the woman of God, in the performing of any of these tasks. Make a list and ask yourself, what are we doing to show that we value these things and we are demonstrating our support for you by doing X, Y, or Z? Now, members, I don't expect you to know all of these things, but here we have the brightest minds and the most capable.
Say it again. Say it again. Say it one more time. Say it again.
Answers and bring solutions forward. The members of the UpSet podcast. How can we really show appreciation based upon knowing the task, the role, and the mission? I ask you one. What say you one? What say you all?
But what happened to Mig's camera when you said the brightest minds? It just his camera just went out.
I knew I needed to leave the room at that moment. I had to excuse myself.
You know, Tally, this is one of the reasons why it is very difficult after you do your beginning statement. It's hard to follow that, and that's a compliment. But in the other sense of it, it's like we could just go ahead and end the stream right now.
But I really think that it would be helpful to members who are watching.
Sure.
You think of the list of things I just read: administration, preparation, having to travel and go places. I think it would be helpful if, as pastors, we were to say, you know what, this is something that a church could do to be supportive of this activity as it concerns my life. Let's say for example, I've never had a budget in any of my churches for visitation.
Right.
And the conference, even though the conference will send you to PELF, because what they're doing is they're supporting themselves. It's an institutional activity.
Sure.
But, you know, and they're just now starting to support going to other things like the E.K. Bailey Conference and others.
Sure.
But how often does your church say, Pastor, are there any workshops that you want to go to?
Yeah.
Is there a budget set aside for that?
Books,
subscriptions,
Logos.
I mean,
software. Software.
I remember when I went to my church in Baltimore. I'll give the name. It was Liberty. And I got there and I said, and this was in the mid-1980s. So computers were not as plentiful as they are now. But I went and I said to the church board, I need a desk and a computer. I need a desk and a computer. And they said, what do you need a computer for?
Why do you need that?
Yeah, I mean, but typically there are people who their first response is to figure out how to hit the brakes rather than how can I empower this person in this. When is the last time your church actually contemplated, enunciated, and articulated the function of the pastorate? Everybody, it's like potato salad. Everybody thinks they know what it is and how to make it, but everybody makes it different.
Until they put celery in it or
raisins,
relish.
You know. and so when is the last time your church, your board of elders even, said, this is what we believe the role, mission, and purpose of the pastor is. And these are the things that we prioritize at this church, because whether you know it or not, that's how you're being evaluated, by this invisible list of priorities that people have that nobody ever talks about.
Tally, let me break here really quick, and then we'll come back to actually answering those questions, because I was looking up where Pastor's Appreciation came from, and it actually came from the Hallmark Card Association.
Everything comes from them. Mother's Day everything comes from them.
You're right, sure does. And so they had it October. Rodney asked a question which I want to throw out there with what you just put out there. Whose responsibility is it to help churches to turn the corner on this? Because I don't want my wife to do it.
No,
because it seems self-serving when if someone in your family does.
So it's got to be a guest speaker, because the pastor himself can't say it. So when you bring in a guest speaker, they have to, butter them up and, help shift the mindset. Because if I do it,
right.
But can't we also still teach and educate without it appearing that we want gifts and appreciation? I mean, I think I would feel really appreciated if my church was to say, Pastor, we really get to see, your worth and what you do. And we support you with our service. We support you with whatever you need to do your job better. Just let us know, but we're here physically, and we want to be there for you monetarily and walk beside you as you evangelize, or whatever we do missions together. I mean, I think one rough thing for us is when you get, opposition and you want agreement with things. And it seems like the people don't understand or appreciate what you're doing. So for me, if I had agreement, with the congregation, more, I think I'd feel better. And I can say, because my people watch this show, I do feel appreciated, for what I do. And you may have some who do not. In my church does try in various ways to show appreciation to me, but some more support in other areas would be great.
And I want to be clear about something, because Marlena made mention the word gifts, and that's appropriate for a pastor on his birthday, Christmas, and anniversary or something. But when I talk about pastoral appreciation, I'm not talking about a day. I'm talking about a mindset and an approach, and that is, how do we demonstratively support and demonstrate that we value these levels of function of this person at our church. For example, if your pastor is known as a good preacher, how are we making sure that we are showing him that we value it by demonstrating support in his task of becoming a better preacher? Sure. I've never had one church that said to me, "Hey, pastor, could we send you to a workshop, or could we buy you these books?" Or, I mean, it just, and you asked earlier, whose task is it? The ministerial secretary.
Wow, you went there.
Well, it is. I mean,
so that means it is the conference job to be.
The conference tells the church everything else that they want to see it do. I mean, the ministerial secretary, that should be on his agenda or her agenda to bring to say to the conference president or whatever powers that be. We want to make sure that we are nurturing and supporting pastors at the pastoral level. These are some initiatives that I think that we can do. It's too simple. To not do it is.
Yeah, I just want to say this in this time. Just when I was an assistant pastor at Calvary, just shout out to all the Calvary, because hearing this, because they show so much love. I mean, just above and beyond. And then the churches that I'm at right now, not just on Pastor Appreciation Month, but Coastal Shores and Seas of Lebanon. If any of them watching, I'm not just saying that because it's Pastor Appreciation Month right now, but they have gone just above and beyond, for real. Seriously, just showing love and hearing about this appreciation.
I don't want to interrupt you, Keenan, but if I might, because now that we got you right there, give us a specific thing that they do.
Oh man, so
support Calvary, for a specific task that you do.
Okay, well, I don't know about necessarily a task, but I mean, as far as the logos, whatever, put that on my computer, on my laptop.
That's good. That's a specific thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason I asked you was not to put you on the spot, was because there are other people listening.
And I could have kept going, but good.
Oh, please continue.
No.
That's an education to the church, because I mean, people don't normally think to do that. Someone educated the church to do that.
Yeah, it was the senior pastor. It was our president, Trevor Kinlock.
And it also depends on the culture of the church. Because there are some that say we appreciate you all year round. We don't have to appreciate you on October by itself. And honestly and truly, I have people who listen at my church that listen now, and I've only been there for a year, and I do feel appreciated every week or every day that I'm there. But let's be honest now, there are churches who do not appreciate their pastors, and I'm not talking about gifts. No, Keenan, it's not about.
No.
I'm not going in. It's not about what you just said. I think we're doing this podcast because maybe someone will learn something about pastors that others don't know. You know, we use the bathroom too. You know, we have families too. You know, we have our own struggles, and many times people just feel like we're sitting by the phone waiting for them to text or for them to call or for them to do something, as though we don't have our own difficulties. We have our own children that we deal with the same way you have your children that you deal with. And I think a lot of people just see us in the pastoral space from a Friday night to a Saturday, and then that's where we are. Now, it may not be that way for me, because I'm going to tell you this: anything that I have wanted in my honeymoon period, I got. But your honeymoon period can go away, and one day, and it will go away at one time or another. I do believe that you ought to look at the strength of your pastor and overwhelm your pastor with whatever it needs to do for him or her to get their job done in the best way possible, because it affects the church. However they appreciate you, it grows the church. So it's not a matter of gifts. It's a matter of how they see you and how they appreciate you. Oh, wait a minute. Before I let it go further, and how they know you. You can't expect to be appreciated if you don't put your time in, pastors. We go both ways with that.
That's right.
You got to be able to put your time in, and not just to visit, because your members know whether you're visiting them just to be able to get a shout out, or do you really care? Atali, I saw a funeral that you did about 3 or 4 years ago during the pandemic, and the appreciation to be able to say, I'm going to stand, or I'm going to be there during the pandemic in a packed house in West Philly, says to me, I'm doing what I can do and what I want to do. That's the difference. Not because the conference sends us to do it, but because we want to do it.
Well, actually, I got called on the carpet by the conference for doing that funeral.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, because they had said that we're not doing any funerals. And I got called by a conference official who said, Pastor Talford, we understood. Did you do a funeral? I said, yeah. He said, well, why did you do it? I said, because the person was dead. I mean, they said, but we said not to do any funerals. I said, well, I had to do this one. And look, first of all, they knew they couldn't bother me. That was first.
Mm-hmm.
But secondly, my church, West Philadelphia Church, I want to be really clear about something, supported me as a human being and as a pastor in ways that exceeded my imagination.
Yeah.
So much so that I began to feel guilty for not doing enough. And that's my stuff, not theirs. That was my problem.
Yeah.
But doing that funeral actually got me into trouble.
They say Meg's about to turn his camera off again. Can we talk about some things? Let's stay in October now, because you already proved the point that we should be appreciated all year round. Let's put some things on the table, because you said gifts, and I think our people only know the word gifts.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and spill it. What should churches be looking at to show their pastor that they appreciate them?
Well, I think before you go there, if they know their pastor If they know them, they have a relationship, then they would know. Instead of making it general.
Okay.
I agree. I agree, Kenny. I agree.
So something that they could do is, for example, the elders could say, Pastor, we'd like to have a quarterly Sabbath dinner with you. You know, just quarterly with you and your family. I mean, not to talk about any business, not to, you know, but just to have it on your calendar. Once a quarter, we'll have this dinner with you. I mean, Keenan, that's a great idea. That's a great idea.
I think some of the answers is built into what you mentioned, Pastor Tally, and there's really 2 points. One, that gnosko, that relational knowing of an individual. I think, you know, well, I'm the most junior person here, so I can say this. Before ministry and while being in ministry, I've shifted my understanding of pastoring. I now have a different value system of what pastoring actually is and what it looks like behind the curtain, right? And I feel for a lot of pastors who have been called, but because of that, you know, Tal, you mentioned that list that people have of what a pastor should be, and we all have them, and we all speak about it behind, you know, around the Sabbath dinner table. High on the list is somebody that's kind of charismatic or charming. But what happens if you're an introvert? And that social that social interaction meter, it
go ahead, guys. Let's go ahead and talk without him now. we took Tally out, everybody. Just go ahead, Migs. Go ahead.
It drops quickly, and you don't want to have to feel the burden of creating all of the social interactions in your church. I think having the elders kind of recognize that, man, pastor's tank's going to run low. We can't have board meeting and expect them to teach Sabbath school and lead out in the worship, and we're going to cover that pastor and recognize this is what our pastor needs. Give them that break.
Wow,
you know, after the sermon, we're not going to, you know, we're going to leave him to pastor study for a little bit. Allow him or her to come down a little bit and be able to mellow out and be able to recharge a little bit. And those things don't require money. I think it requires a heart of a servant. Someone who sees people and sees and recognizes appreciation. That is appreciation. And it costs you very little. And
appreciative pastors don't like being around people. Introverted pastors,
man, they get overlooked. You know, I'm an ambivert.
And may I just add, and
I heard you, Migs.
Exactly what I was speaking of when I was speaking of support, because to be a pastor takes a lot of work, a lot. And unless you walk in the shoes, you have no idea. Your job does not end. And I know we say we have boundaries, you know, we take these days, but you know, still people try to break in those boundaries. And then there are things that happen, right? Because if you're really pastoring, you're with your people through walking through life, as Tally said, in courtrooms, in the hospital, right? For special functions, you know, they really, many times they want the pastor there. And then if you are active in the community, you know, there's so many other things to do. And there are and I want to say this as a female pastor, there are expectations of us greater than men. And so it's a lot to do. Even when the pastor's well-driven, sometimes it still appears that, no, you know, you should do this and you should do that. Like, you know, you should do even more. And so I like what you said, Migs, you know, you need support, you know, versus them thinking you should do everything, right? Say, how can we help you to do your job better? You know, I can lead out in this, I can lead out in this, you know, even though we know the art of delegation, but if other people would volunteer, that would just make life so much better, because we are, you know, overly extended. So for me, support and appreciation is, I love the words, Pastor, I appreciate you, right? And then help us. That's what I want to say. Help us in the field.
How do you feel, Marlene? Do you think that it's different for you being a female pastor? You think, and I'm not comparing the work between. Do you feel that there's more appreciation, less appreciation? Do more people, do you think, appreciate you more just to overcompensate because you're a female pastor?
When I say we have to work harder, we have to work harder to prove that we can do the job. For some reason, people think if you're female, you can't,
Do
really
so.
pastor, right? And and they, when you do well, through the power of God, they're like, oh, I had no idea. This is awesome, right? And so that's why I said, we have to do more to show. Now, I mean, both of the churches that I have, I mean, I've only been pastoring just a little less than 9 years, but both of my churches that I've been in thus far have been very loving and have always done whatever they could. And I'm a people person. So, I'm close to all of my people. And so, they, think of me all throughout the year, but and I'm also a working pastor. I do a lot, and a lot of my, um, fatigue could be because of also what I do extra, but I'm the type of person that, if God gives me something, you know, let's work together on that. And so when there's opposition, then that tires me because and it's not 100% opposition, but what I want to say is if you love and trust your pastor that they're doing the work of Christ, and I know people have got their own lives and things like that, so I'm not saying that, but be more supportive. I think our issues are when you work something and then you get just minimal support,
Yeah.
and you want adequate support, and so
Believe.
that's just where I am. I think that I would feel more appreciated because none of us are here, you know, just because of our own desires. I think all of us have pretty much similar testimonials that we didn't even want to be here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Doing full-time pastoring, but God told us, right? He called us and he told us. And so we step out, and oftentimes it's a lonely thing. And especially if you're single, it's lonely, out here
Yeah.
pastoring. You have so much work to do. And so to have people appreciate what you do and what you give
Man.
and always being around,
Yeah.
and versus if I'm in the building, I don't have to do everything.
Everything. Yeah.
And that's why gifts have been given to the church, to people in the church, to make the whole body function together. So the one
GP, the music.
comes from you who are in the pews, not think they should be doing more. You see the person there all the time. Can I just be there and sit and do nothing sometimes with my presence? Be there, you know what I'm saying? Because I still think our presence is necessary. So for me, appreciation, if we talk about love language, I am words of affirmation. Bless me, words of affirmation.
Wow. Wow.
Support. I want support because what Jesus, sometimes he didn't have a place to lay his head, right? So Jesus, I think, I'm sure he wanted support, people with him. And so if when you look at us, and if it looks like our jobs are easy, you're not doing that much, right? You have no idea,
Listen,
what we
Yeah.
do.
listen. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, real quick, GP. Sorry.
So, Peter Drucker, a management expert and consultant, said that the four toughest jobs in the world are president of the United States of America, president of a university or college, CEO of a hospital, and pastor of a church. And the reason why he listed those things is because they each face conflict between what their constituents want them to do and what actually needs to be done.
Mercy. Come, run it back, GP. Run it
Peter
back.
Drucker, management expert, you can look it up. He
Get
said
in
the
that
four hardest
mic.
jobs in America, president of the United States, president of a university or college, CEO of a hospital, or a pastor of a church, because they have to wrestle with the conflict between what their constituents want them to do and what is most effective for them to do.
I wanted to be, you know, before it goes too far, we made mention of pastors who are, what did we call them?
Introverts.
Introverts, yeah, and that they don't get noticed and so forth. We just buried a pastor who was one of the most introverted people I've ever met, Pastor William Hall.
Right. He sure was.
Pastor Hall was, you know, an introvert can be just as noticed as an extrovert, you know, if you do your work. I mean, Hall did his work, and then he did somebody else's work, you know. So, I mean, you don't have to change your personality or anything like that. But the purpose of tonight's discussion, at least from the perspective of this one pastor, is people need to understand and be clear on role, mission, and purpose of pastor.
We go again. Role, mission, and purpose. Go ahead, man.
And then be able to discover ways to demonstrate support that will assign value or convey value to individuals. I mean, and so just, you know, it's not about how much money you give the pastors. It's not about buying them a suit. It's about understanding who he is, what he does, or what she does, and how you can come alongside to be supportive in the execution of that task.
You know, I have to tell you guys, like I said, I'm not putting down any of the churches that I was before I went to the office. But every Sabbath, what did I miss, guys? What did I miss? Is it in the back room? That was something in the back room?
Cheated.
I missed the whole thing. We'll get in the green room. When a member gives me bananas.
Oh, you mean like the fruit? I thought you meant like when they go crazy.
Well,
folks, it's bananas.
And actually, you can go both ways with that.
Okay.
Do you know? It gives me another couple of days of like, wow, I can make it to that meeting on time, or put this work in, or whichever. I mean, just the bananas, just the bread, just the just someone just saying, hey, we thought about you and we made these roles for you, or whichever. Yeah. Well,
I want to be careful though. I want people
go ahead, Tally.
Personal appreciation.
You're right. You're right.
And pastoral appreciation.
You're right. There's a difference.
You know, I'm giving you this because I like you.
Okay, you're right.
And that's good. It's necessary.
Or they may want something from you.
Well, that's something different. But I'm simply saying that churches need to understand the task, the purpose, the mission of the pastor, so that they can then understand how they can do things that will allow them to demonstrate how much they value the role that is being played. You know.
Yeah. And again, we're not saying gifts again. We're not saying monetary items. I just feel like we are.
But it could be though.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, it could be.
If that's what that church does,
you
know, because I still believe that there are cultures in different churches that it may not be finances in one, and it may be, Pastor, we have a house in Jamaica that we don't open up until a certain time. You can go there and stay for 2 weeks or so. That's
church is that?
Look, West Church had. I know there are people houses in Jamaica. Yeah. The only reason they didn't send me is because I told them if I go, I ain't coming back.
Just this Sabbath pass.
And never. Don't decline acts of kindness. I think that's a great form of appreciation. Oftentimes that's done individually, even.
Sure.
You know, like some of my people just throughout the year, they will bring me, you know, Pastor, I made something for you, or Pastor. I mean, there are times I'm at the door, they just put something in my hand. I'm not going to say, "Oh, this is not October," right?
Right.
They do things that they feel God is leading them to do, and I think that's great, and that's nothing that should be underappreciated.
Sure, makes.
I do have a question, and I think I'm kind of changing the topic just a little bit.
Easy with the bass, though. Come off of the bass.
Do you think that we adequately appreciate each other? And two, do you think that pastoral appreciation should go beyond the local church? Like, does our system support pastors enough? And like, what would that look like for us to show appreciation for each other? For example, Pat, Tally, even Dr. Marlena, Keenan, all you guys, I learned from all you. And you guys have welcomed me with warm and welcoming
One
arms.
second, leave my man alone, Pat. Oh,
yeah, I got back up. Don't.
I got back
up.
Come on, go with it, Mace. Go ahead.
But and I try to vocalize it as much as possible. But what would peer-to-peer appreciation or pastor to church organization, what should it look like? Not necessarily what it is, because we can go down a rabbit hole if we do that. But what would that look like moving forward?
Keenan, go ahead.
One example could be proper compensation for pastors based on their longevity in ministry. So if I'm 20 years in, my paychecks would look a lot different than when I started. So
I disagree with that one.
Go ahead, Keenan. I would like to know why.
No, I put this out there before. I think, this is just my crazy idea.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because Jesus, I'm thinking of the parable. Jesus said,
we want to know about you. We don't want to know about Jesus.
For 1 hour, you work for me a week. He gave them all the same. It should be a flat fee all across the board. That's what I would say for this $100,000 a year. That should be a flat fee.
Well, what makes you say that?
That's the way I see it.
I understand that, but I'm asking, what is it that moves you to think that?
No, I think
he don't need the raise.
No, I didn't say that. Now again, I pastor in Virginia. That's, y'all already know, as far as the conference, that's one of the lowest paying places in the conference.
But the best secret.
Yeah, it's the best. Yeah. I hear the pastors complaining in other areas. I'm like, no, I'm good. But I just want to say this. I think $100,000 a year for
the question I'm asking you, though, Keenan, is what makes you say that? Why do
I'm trying to get you? I think that just looking at the income level and with the economy, I just think that's just the basic, this flat fee or flat salary that I think the from the NAD that they can do level. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you don't muzzle the ox that treads the corn, and a workman is worthy of the hire, and so people should be able to work out fair compensation. For example, if I am pastoring a church in Washington, D.C., where I have to traverse the Beltway, and I may have members all over that Beltway, and 3 hospital visits can take me all day. And I may be a member of several committees. I may have several different groups at church with whom I have to work. I may have a building project or capital expansion project. I think that the labor of that individual is deserving of greater levels of compensation than a person who's pastoring out in a rural area where there is the hospital. When somebody's in the hospital, they're in the hospital. And they've got 125 people, and all of those people know each other, and they're very supportive of each other. And you don't need the same level of pastoral support for the membership, because I think that person who's working in that other situation is deserving of greater levels of compensation because of what they do.
Okay, but let me say it like this. The base, at least that's just the start. Now, I think somebody put in the chat, if you're in a different area, of course, if the cost of living is higher, then you gotta raise it. But I think that's just to be just the base, just the starting.
Let me just say this real quick. What is Damian Chandler doing on our podcast? That's what we want to know.
I know that we're doing the right thing. If he showed up, we're doing the right thing.
If he showed up, we're doing right. Damian, thanks for showing up anyway, and send the podcast some money. But there's another lady that answered. Who is this lady right here? Ebony.
I don't know, but I like the way she thinks. Yeah.
She said,
yeah, that's my lovely wife. She said 100K is nothing, by the way.
Oh man!
And let me just do that in real
baseline, just the base.
And you know what? I can see the point on both, because I'm going to tell you this: there are some things that happen at my small church that's not happening at the large churches, but there's some more effort that's being done at a small church that does not pastorally have to happen at a larger church. There's more to do.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so I can see that across the board. What I would like to see happen is more of an evaluation process of us as pastors. We're talking about peer-to-peer, right? So that we will know what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and that we can operate at our best. The truth is that I should not be asking GP to come to my church to get my people to appreciate me more. I should be bringing GP because he has a specific set of skills. Yes. No, really. You understand what I'm saying? That helps out the whole body, period. And I do believe this is that if we are strengthened in our skills, our people will see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Tally. I'm coming out of corporate America, guys. You know, this is my second career, but and so I'm a babe.
She don't need to raise.
It's people. Listen, it's people like them. That's right, GP. They don't need it.
I still need it. All the money is spent, right? Not that good. And so I understand, you know, if someone has been in the ministry longer, you know, if I am making the same as them, you know, and they have larger church, expectations are greater, they should be paid according to, you know, their responsibility. And so I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I think that's something that should be, well, I mean, I guess the rules of our church is opposite of that. But, you know, I understand those views and people desiring more. It makes sense.
Can we flip this back just in case I don't want us to get a call from the motherland to be like we needed to end. But there's something but I wanted to wait, Tal?
We do need it to end. I mean,
it's true, Tal. Yeah. What I do want to bring back for us to
old people got to go to the bathroom.
Mercy.
That is an old podcast. Come back, Migs. Come on back, Migs. Come on back. That's an old podcast joke. I'm not sure which episode that was, but that was a whole podcast joke. Tally, you put something out earlier, preaching, studying. I took a snapshot of it as you were going through it. Preaching, studying, preparing, compassion, visitation. Oh man, Keenan, if we had time, we could be talking about pastoral compassion, burnout, compassion, fatigue. Man, if we had time to talk about that, it'd be grateful for people in our churches to be able to recognize when we're going through that fatigue in order to help. That's a good appreciation. But I want to go through preaching, studying, preparing, compassion, visitation, spiritual counseling, business acumen, community involvement and leadership, administration, and providing presence, especially presence. One of the things about presence that I think is that sometimes we just have to be there.
Yeah.
You know, just to show up.
Was the master. Butch Fordham was the master.
Let's not talk about him.
Just, you know.
No, Tally. I mean that.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, it is something that happens. I lift before us. I know we're closing a book that was recommended to me this morning by the gentleman who's watching with us, Keith Goodman, who's recommended over the years so many good books to me, by Cal Newport, called Slow Productivity: The Lost Art of Accomplishment Without Burnout. Adventists should be best at that. I mean, because we are commissioned by God to remind people that it is not in our human doing that we find value. It is in our human being. But on Sabbath, we gear up in our doing.
Yes.
And we pervert the very message by our activity that we've been commissioned to send. With that, I'm done.
Actually, just to add to that,
go ahead.
To that, Pat, you know, I'm always surprised at pastors who don't take vacations. And I'm like, what? You don't take a vacation? I take a whole month off.
Keenan, I actually used to feel guilty for taking vacation.
So did I, Pat. So did I. Yeah.
Used to feel guilty. And this is
where does that, if I had more time, I ask you, where does that come from?
Oh, I can tell you.
Go ahead, Tally.
A lack of internal worth. I didn't feel.
That's it.
I never felt as though I was worthy
enough to take the vacation.
Yeah, and that I owed people.
Yep, that's right.
Wow.
And yeah,
wow.
I mean, I'm just getting past that now.
And Tally, you saying that now, and I'm telling you, this could be a whole different show. I've experienced depression and burnout because I wouldn't let the church go. And and when you sit there and you recognize that you are on a cruise with your family, but secretly your phone is on just in case, or something. This is the first vacation in 23 years that I have disconnected. No posts, no social media, no nothing. And 3 more days at sea because of the hurricane. And I came back charged. Imagine all of the pastors that are pastoring who feel the way I feel, that man, if I take a week off, man, something is going to go wrong, or I'm not worthy to take that time off. You know, that's why I look at compassion fatigue. Look at all those type of things. Compassion fatigue is because you're putting out so much work.
Or you believe that you're God, like it's all on your back.
Well, no.
So
I get you, Keenan, with that, but go ahead. I'm sorry, Mick. I shouldn't even.
No, I would call it the Elijah effect, where you feel like you're the last one. You're the only one that could do the job. So we're quite things won't move. The needle won't move unless you're there. Mercy. And so when things aren't aligning in the way that we envisioned, Lord, just take me out.
Rodney Grisham says, I felt that way, but my wife knocked some sense into me. I now take vacation. I just want to say this, though, Keenan, that even though you came in with that background, some of us haven't. I know that I have not come in with that type of background. I came in with the background of work. So I would take vacations, and guys, we'll come down to an end on this. I would go on a speaking engagement and run my time around that. It was unfair to me, and it was unfair to my family. So if we went down to Florida for beta or whatever, we'll say, okay, we'll take another 3 days to stay with our daughter or whatever. But no matter what happens, the work was still on your mind. We have to learn how to be able to disconnect from those type of things. So I think you're right, Megs. Keenan, I think you're right also. But there are a group of us that need to get some sense slapped into us. And Tally, I'm going to have Tally marry somebody, whether he loves her or not, so that somebody could slap.
You got to get some healing. Pastors need healing. And that's why you operate, these unhealthy, toxic ways. So, we all broken. We all need healing. So it comes out of different ways. And as a pastor, if you still dealing with that stuff, you're going to try to save the world, you're going to kill yourself.
Yes, you're right about that.
Everybody, kind of are you speaking of, Keenan? I mean,
what kind of healing?
Oh yeah, what kind of healing?
What's his name again?
Well, I don't know. You tell me, Tally. What do you think I'm talking about, Tally?
Talk about what Tally is talking about.
Tally, for me, when I get that feeling,
you need spiritual healing.
Spiritual healing. Yeah, get up.
What else healing were you
don't worry about it, Keenan. Don't worry.
Well,
listen, let's go around the horn. I'm ending with Tally. Marlena will go around the horn. Appreciation. What would you like to see? Not your church. Let's be global on this. How could a church appreciate their pastor?
Well, I think I spoke my heart already.
You did.
And so I'll reiterate it briefly, but just really support your pastor. Understand that they give their all, even if it looks like to you they aren't. You have no idea what they do outside of the four walls that you see sometimes. So certainly share with them verbally and any kind of gift, appreciation. If you desire to do that, that's fine too. But support them, work with them in the programs and things that they're giving and bringing to the church. And I think that your pastor would feel very supported that way.
Yeah. Migs Grasshopper, what you thinking?
I think structurally, I would love to have a system where, as pastors, we knew that we can go to a specific person, whether that's the ministerial, whatever the case may be, for proper training, month to month, or evaluation. How am I doing? How can I get better? A lot of us would do better in that kind of a structured environment, because pastoring, your days can vary. So having some level of structure that will help us to get to where most of us want to be great.
Yep.
There are very few people I've met in my life that don't want to be great. And so helping each pastor to get to their level of excellence and to work on the gifting that God has already given, I think that would be an excellent way for us to show appreciation beyond the pews.
I got it. Beautiful. Keenan, psychotherapist, what you thinking about?
Well,
let me play some Marvin.
Matter of fact, come back to me. Can you come back to me?
Well, what? Hold on. Tally's about to play Marvin Gaye. Are you going to go ahead and play it, or are we good? Are you good?
No, I'll wait for him. He said he wants us to come back to him.
So we'll wait on that. My technology master, GP.
I would just want to speak to the heart of a pastor who is not appreciated. When your birthday rolls by, it rolls by and it's not mentioned. When October rolls by, you know you ain't gonna get nothing, and you're discouraged. You're questioning your effectiveness, your value, but the work that you do is extremely important. And God sees what you're doing, even if your church does not see it.
Wow!
And we pray that they will see this podcast episode and have a change of heart.
Oh, GP and Miggs, I hate your voice, man. One day, when I get to the kingdom, I want to be able to be like, well,
yeah, well, okay. I think I got it now.
Okay, come on.
Just want to say, just the education piece. I think Miggs, he already spoke to that, and I think a lot of our pastors don't even know what that looks like. And so this, from what Tally just put out in the beginning, that was very, very informative. And I think that just from the conference down to the pew, we just have to educate. It seems like everybody on this, and I would say to all the pastors, GP always said it. I put in the chat earlier, I appreciate all of you on here. I'm not just saying that, but I really appreciate you all. Y'all allowed me to come on this podcast and hang out with you all. So I definitely appreciate you all. No, and GP said it again, all the pastors out there, God sees you. Remember when Jesus got baptized? I'm not trying to preach. When Jesus got baptized,
here he goes with Jesus again.
We are preachers. Tell it, Dr.
And God the Father said, "This is my beloved Son, who I'm well pleased." I'm saying, so God, if nobody else loves you, God loves you. And He is well pleased with you. So always keep that in mind.
Beautiful, Keenan. And honestly, I really love that. And I hope somebody hears that, especially a pastor hears that and says, listen, God is the one that initiated you to go and do your work. So I really appreciate that. That's coming from a psychotherapist. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Just 2 seconds. Rodney Grisham is holding his hands up and we want to get.
So he receives it.
He said he received it. He received that. He received that. Come on, Tally, because I'm not ending mine, man. I'm trying to end this, with a different hairstyle. So let's go.
I would like to see a church and a pastor take the time to articulate what they anticipate from the role and purpose and function of the pastor, in a way that shows how they value those things, not because the pastor has to do them that way, so that they can at least understand where their heads are. And I would like to see the conference do things that empower pastors to grow in the performance of ministry, and to demonstrate ways of appreciating that growth that will allow the pastor to recognize that they are being appreciated for their contribution and labor.
Just amazing. Just amazing. I think this is really good. You guys have poured into me. And honestly, thank you, Tally, for taking this over from me at the last minute, because I still have a lot of learning to do on this, which tells me then that you put these slides together in a couple of hours ago. And so I want to thank you for that. You're not getting paid to do that. But I also want to say this to you, Tally. There are a lot of our pastors that's looking for a group with you leading us, with you talking to us and you showing us, and because iron sharpens iron, and I do believe that you can help us through this, not just young pastors, but us old ones too. Not you, Keenan, you in the middle. We can learn through that, because Keenan, for you, I'm going to write you on this. When you get that feeling
Oh yeah, he gets the healing.
Yeah, he gets that healing, that spiritual healing.
Spiritual healing. Yeah.
Get up. GP is way in the back. GP don't know what we're talking about. GP
I know about it.
Okay.
I'm just not entertaining. I'm not a part of this.
Yeah, so I just want to thank everybody for jumping on with us tonight. What an awesome day. I don't know how it was on everybody on the East Coast or that. What a beautiful day we've had today.
Beautiful day.
An awesome day. So let's keep alive. And everyone who's out there, please just remember your pastors. Even the ones that you're not even rubbing shoulders with, just realize that they're not just going to, they're working for you and thinking about you at all times. So we love you, everybody. We're praying that our producer gets back safely with the union, where we could all come back together again. So if it's
Thursday,
if it's Sunday. If it's Sunday, it's the day after the seal of God.
Oh, that's a good one, Ty. That's a good one.
It is. You rock that one. Good night, everybody. Let's give them a wave. Good night, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
We see you all next week.
Appreciate all the pastors there. Happy Pastor Appreciation.
Yep.
Grissom, Goodman, all the others.
There we go.
Do we have a?
I'm sorry, somebody was talking right there.
No, I said,
we're live. We're still live. We're still live.
I want you to TV back on.
I was laughing.
Lord,
I was laughing.
I think somebody asked for somebody's cash app in the chat. Somebody asked for
All right, here we go, everybody. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2,
now
1.
he can count.